already uploaded and distributed a video on creating an Adobe stamp that's static, like this one, that puts your signature, or in this case the initials, onto a document like this. What we're going to do today is walk through the steps to create a dynamic Adobe stamp. It's not static, and what I mean by that is there are two versions of this I'm going to show you, and in this case it's going to be an exhibit stamp, which is the law firm sort of standard thing in the industry that we're talking about today. I have a blank PDF, it's named blank PDF, and the two versions of this stamp, one of them picks up the file name of whatever the open file is, and it strips off the .pdf, and you can apply that and it automatically fills that in. The other version of this opens a dialog box where it prompts you to enter something like DX 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when you hit enter it applies that. So for this to work properly and quickly, there's two changes you need to make if you haven't already made them. In Adobe, under Edit and Preferences, the first thing you need to do is under Page Display. You want to zoom up here to be Fit Page. That way you'll get the same effect as if you press Control and 0 and fit the entire page on the screen. That lets you see the entire page to apply the stamp in the best place without having to do the extra keystrokes to get it there. The other change is on the general options over here. Make certain this checkbox for use single key accelerators is checked. And the reason for that is I have some sample exhibits over here. And if I open all of them, and this is how when I'm doing a small batch of exhibits with a dynamic stamp, I'll open up anywhere from 8 to 10 at a time. And what I'll do is I will go in here, and if I pick the stamp, let's say I'm using this one, and I stamp it, if I go to the next one, the single key accelerator for reload the last used tools is the letter K. So if I hit the letter K, it will pull the stamp up. And I can just go through here one at a time, hitting the letter K and stamping them. And that just adds a lot of efficiency to this process. Okay, now that we have that, let's get started building our stamp. I have two folders open on my screen here. One is just a folder to keep sort of the files in here. And the other folder is the Stamps folder for Adobe Acrobat. You're going to need to find this folder, and the path to this folder, if you have the current version of Acrobat or any Adobe, it's going to be in this path here. Will be the Stamps folder. If you haven't used any stamps or created any, the Stamps folder won't exist yet. You can just go to this part, Acrobat, the DC folder, and just create a folder in there called Stamps. And then this will be where the stamps will reside at. If you have an older version of Acrobat, the path is a little bit different, and it's down here. And the same thing, if the Stamps folder doesn't exist, you'll need to go to this folder of 10.0 or whatever your version of Acrobat is, and then create a Stamps folder inside there. So I have already created the basic graphic for the exhibit stamp. This exhibit stamp, the dimensions are a little different. A standard exhibit stamp like this, the dimensions are 0.88 by 1.33. In this instance, they want a little bit different size stamp with some additional information that will be filled in actually as the exhibit gets used in court, where they can write in the date admitted. The dimensions on this stamp are a little larger. It's 1.44 by 1.68. But what you would do is you would go into, I'm just in PowerPoint, you would create this graphic in any graphics program you wanted to. And we're going to use this as the beginning spot to create our stamp. So what I'm going to do is I have taken all of these elements that I put in here and I've grouped them together, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to save this as a picture. And I'm going to save this picture in this dynamic stamp folder, and I'm just going to leave the picture 1 as the file name. And so we're kind of done with that. We get that out of here, and there is our picture that we're going to start with. So what we're going to do is let me open up Adobe, bring it over here, and on File, I'm going to go to Create and just a blank page. In blank page, we're going to go to Stamp, and these steps are just like what we did to create the static signature and initial stamp. So we're going to go to Custom Stamps, and we are going to stamp. And what I'm going to do is browse to that folder, and this is the picture we exported from PowerPoint. I'm going to click Open, and that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to click OK. We're just going to call it New Stamp, and the category, I'm also going to just call it New Stamp. I'm just taking the defaults here to downsample. And I'm going to click OK. And that's the first part of this is finished. So I'm going to close this, and we don't need to save this blank document. Because if you see over here now in our stamps folder, Adobe creates it in this folder, but it gives it a strange name here. And but just to make this easier, I'm going to rename this to New Stamp. Doesn't make any difference if it's the only stamp you're making. You can leave that default file name in there. It just makes it a lot easier to rename it to the name of the stamp. So now I'm going to open this stamp. It's 2 pages when you create a stamp. The first page is blank, and your stamp is actually down here at the bottom. So to create a dynamic stamp, what we need to do is insert a form field. So we've already got that open where I'm just going to click Start. And I'm going to make this a little larger. So it creates a field here, and I'm going to click on it to select it and hit the delete key because we don't want to use that field. We want to insert a field, and there's a trick here, is we're going to add a text field, and I'm going to set it in the box here. I'm not going to change the name or anything. I'm going to click All Properties. And the trick here is if you don't do it here, if you reselect the box and go up here and right click and go to Properties, where we're going to put the calculate field in for the JavaScript, it won't save it for you. So I'm going to delete this. You just get the one chance to do this right. I'm going to add this form field, and I'm going to click in here. And it grabs it at the top left corner, so that has to be inside the graphic. We'll resize it later on. I'm going to click the All Properties here, and this is the only chance I have to put this custom calculation script in here on this Calculate tab. It will fill in these other items that we need to change later on. But we're going to go to a custom calculation script, and I'm going to click Edit over here. And the Java code for this, the stamp that picks up the file name, is here. I'm going to copy that, and we're going to put that in. And you'll see it in the box down here. If you don't see it in the box, you missed that step where you click the properties immediately after you added this text box. And so you'll need to delete the text box and go back and do it again. So now that that is in there, I'm going to go ahead and resize this a little bit. I want it up off the line, and then I want to bring it just a little bit. And for the appearance, we're going to set this to a 10 size font, and we want it to be bold. The position is fine. The options, we want the center alignment, and that's the only other things we need to set other than this calculate field. And I'm going to click Close, and we're done with that. This stamp is ready to go. I'm going to save it. In here is fine. We'll add it to this dynamic stamp folder. I'm going to click Save. And before I forget to show you this, this is the Java code or the dialog box that prompts you to fill in. And remember the closing braces down here at the end. And if you need either of these, you can just pause the screen where they're at and type them in, or I'll post both of these and the paths in the comments of this. So I'm going to close this. We're through with it. And in our dynamic stamp, here's our new stamp. This new stamp on the left is the one that we made before we added the form field with the Java. So I'm going to delete that, and we need to put this new one, and I'm going to copy it over here. And then let's open up some sample exhibits, and we'll test our stamp out and make certain that it works okay. Let me put this over here where you. So we're going to need to select that stamp the first time. And we made the category new stamp, and there's our new stamp. And you can see that it's already in the shadow version. It has dx_010, which is our file name. So we go to the next one. Now if I hit the letter K, I can apply the stamp. Over here and down here. And so there you go. Dynamic Adobe stamps that fill in either the file name or a dialog box to prompt you for an entry. I hope this helps you.